How did your affair start? I was stuck in a non-physical marriage with a hoarder. Rats were living in the dryer, as example, who didn't keep up with house repairs. Spent 4 months drinking bottled water because the well wasn't safe without work. Couldn't get out because I was 20 kilometers from anywhere, was given a car that didn't run. Coworker usually picked me up for work, or I walked to the closest carpool lot. Cracked under the lonely stress when coworker found me attractive. Turns out my ex was really closeted, hence the hoarding and inability to function. I wasn't running on all cylinders after all that either. He's got a roommate now, the house is fixed, I'm still with coworker after 10 years and we all get together so often. Prime example of people who really shouldn't have been married in the first place. She found a tank top in the laundry that wasn't her size. She threw it at my face, said, "I hope she was worth it," and stormed off. Turns out it was her shirt that I shrunk, because I'm bad at laundry. My wife found a hairband on the living room floor that wasn't hers. We don't have daughters and no female friends family had visited in quite a while. Thankfully she trusted me so I didn't get a crazy accusation like yours. But it was definitely a weird, awkward mystery for a while. Then a couple weeks later I was telling the story to some friends and my buddy who sometimes comes over to watch football goes, "Oh yeah, that's probably my daughter's. I keep them in my pockets for her, and it probably fell out when I was over for the game." Mystery solved. Oh man, what a relief to have some closure, as it was not a good feeling having zero explanation for it. Found out she was cheating on me. Decided to cheat on her as an act of revenge. It did not make me feel any better. Pretty much the exact opposite actually. I just felt like I was a piece of shit as well. It was a very short affair. I once thought about cheating on my ex because he was an abusive piece of shit who constantly cheated on me. But the thought of dragging someone innocent into that mess hurt me. That and I didn't want to give my ex reason to play the victim. It's better to just leave the situation and be the better person, no matter how much you want to get back at them. Get back at them by leaving and continuing to grow and flourish as a person. That really pisses them off. I tried to do that during a stupid, messy college breakup, just a terrible idea all around, like you said. The guy I went with turned out to be remarkably perceptive even when drunk, because at a certain point he was like, "I don't think you really want to do this, you seem really stressed," and then listened to me cry for about 2 hours and bought me sodas and some pizza. I never hung out with him again because I was so mortified, but wherever he is I hope he's doing well because he deserves all the good things. Bold of you to think I'm capable of seducing not one but 2 people. When my wife found a napkin in my pocket, and swore it was not her lipstick. I had no idea how it got inside my pocket. After months of her thinking I was cheating, at lunch one day I was eating a sandwich and drinking a red Gatorade. After wiping my mouth with the napkin, I realized it was the same shade as my evidence of an affair napkin. Edit. This happened after literally a few weeks of marriage. I married this woman only after knowing her a few months. 26 years later we are stronger than ever, but when I bring this up, I swear I feel she's not 100% sold on it. Don't mind me just looking for my dad's comment. It didn't. She just thinks it did, which is really annoying. Oh shit, dude. I've been there. Got divorced over it. Over something that never happened, but it's 7 years later and she still thinks it did. Same. Then a month after the divorce, I find out she's been on Bumble a year before the divorce. I'm still blamed for an affair, and she plays the victim with all my friends. I don't have any friends anymore, lol. We met at work and started having threesomes with my wife. One thing led to another, and we started hooking up without her. Thankfully my wife forgave me and we were able to reconcile. It was the dumbest thing I've ever done. If you're considering cheating, let me assure you, you will either get caught or, hopefully, be so consumed with guilt that you will rat yourself out. She started telling me about relationship troubles. We grew closer over time, sharing insecurities and whatnot. Eventually we developed feelings, on which we could not act. Eventually, those feelings became too strong, and we caved. It lasted for 5 years, me trying to commit to this new thing we developed, her not completely able to let go. She jumped between me and the other. Eventually I realized my committing to and feeling for her were unhealthy. And I realized, too late, that I didn't want to be the person that made someone else cheat. It never did, but I couldn't convince the ex that it didn't. So here I am, a 42-year-old divorced dude trying to start over in the craziest timeline imaginable. Ever thought the ex was actually having an affair and wanted a clean way out? Bingo. Caught my ex-wife cheating once, forgave her, then after that every single woman I dared to have contact with outside of work, school, family was my way of getting back at her. To the point I was accused of cheating with her sister, her brother's wife, her cousin, 3 different coworkers, 2 friends I knew before I met her, and at least 4 other students when I went to college. And 1 neighbor. Dealt with all of it, thinking this was her reaction to feeling overly guilty about what she did. I'm pretty sure in that mix there, she cheated on me with a coworker because of the amount of unprompted overtime she had to work and such. Shift ending at midnight and not getting home till 2:30. But I wasn't gonna be her and accuse her of cheating over every little thing. The last time she did it was with a guy she met online. She said she was going to visit a girlfriend of hers for the weekend, and when I couldn't get a hold of her and tried contacting the girlfriend, she confessed that she was never coming to see her, and she was visiting this guy. Relationship was over right there. She moved in with him within a month, left our kids with me, and hasn't been back to see them in almost 7 years now. Will tell anyone that'll listen that I was physically and emotionally abusive and I'm keeping the kids from her, and she's too scared of me to try and visit. I'm a giant fucking teddy bear of a guy who doesn't have an aggressive bone in his body, but oh well. Her family knows the truth and has basically disowned her. She walked onto my side of our shared balcony. I let her inside. She stayed a little while. She started coming over more often, nearly daily. So I started buying her some snacks, some toys. We'd spend as much time as we could before my neighbor noticed she was with me. Rainbow, I miss you, cat. Was once accused of cheating. Front passenger seat on my car was moved, too close for any guy to sit, and my then girlfriend demanded to know who I'd had in my car. I told her it was Chris, a co-worker. She came storming into my company the next day, demanding to see Chris. Imagine her face when she found out Chris was Christopher, a little person. He stood 4 feet 2 inches. I milked her apology for a decade. I wasn't happy in my marriage. I was traveling for work and was at dinner with someone else who had traveled into the location. We were the last 2 out, and were talking. I asked about her family. She said her husband was an a-hole. One thing led to another, and we started an affair for the next 2 years. My wife let a friend borrow a hooded sweatshirt one evening while she had a fire and a few friends over. Her friend washed said hoodie and returned it. My wife washes it because she doesn't like her fabric softener. There was a pair of her friend's underwear stuck in the sleeve of the hoodie that came out in our washer machine. I get home from working and she accused me of cheating after a massive fight, and me racking my brain she called her friend and confirmed it's her black thong. Met her at my now ex-wife's birthday party. Asked wife if I could fuck her and wife said sure. We got along great and started dating, all above board with the wife. Wife eventually gets jealous and says no more. I kept it up behind her back. Eventually dumped the wife due to her coke problem. You asked to fuck someone else at your own wife's birthday party? What a fact? This was a wild ride. From the other perspective, but I was seeing this girl for 4 months, let's call her Sam, that I met while she was working at a bar downtown. We were practically in a relationship but never really had that talk. We went on a bunch of dates together. She met my coworkers and I hung out with her and her roommates often. One day I'm over at her place drinking with her and the roomies, and towards the end of the night we decide to go into her room to do the deed. Suddenly Sam starts acting really strange and quiet. I ask her if she wants to stop, and she says yes, so I do and ask her what's up. She is reluctant to tell me anything, so I decide, you know what, I'm just gonna leave and we can talk about this later. As I'm walking to my car that's parked on the street, I'm met at the end of the driveway by a dude that looked familiar. I realized as he got closer that this was Sam's ex-boyfriend that I've seen pictures of posted a year before on Instagram. As he walks by me he threatened me if I ever came back here. I was a bit of a cocky shit and said, why the fuck shouldn't I come back? He then tells me that he knows I've been fucking his girlfriend, to which I said, you guys have been broken up since the summer. I just left and decided I'd confront Sam about this later. Turns out the ex was right and I'd been helping her cheat on her boyfriend for the last 4 months. The most fucked up part, her roommates and friends were in on it the whole time. This woman wanted to meet my daughter too. So glad I dodged that bullet. I was bartending one night. She walked into the bar. She was my perfect type. Tall, slender, dark hair, just gorgeous. My first thought was, please be single, please be single, and she sat down next to her husband. They were married about 6 months. He was a Wall Street banker. She was a nurse. I got to talking to them at the bar and we hit it off. Turns out the guy and I had some mutual friends and grew up near the same suburbs outside of Boston. We went to the same college, but I was older than him by 10 years. Same sports fans, etc. We became friends, all three of us. They kinda had a strange relationship. They literally, and I mean literally, didn't have more than 2 or 3 actual friends. I was one of them. We would do lots of things together, not sexual, just friends. She became pregnant, and I became the godfather to her child. I was written in their will, and it told me if they both were to die, they wanted me to raise their kid. Both of their families are all fucked up. It's too long of a story to write here, but over the course of 8 years she and I became close while her husband and I were cordial, but our friendship faded. She and I never cheated. It was an emotional thing. He was distant and dismissive with her feelings, so I kind of became the surrogate boyfriend. She and I would go out to dinner or do other things together, with her kid and without him, and he was fine with it. Even suggested I take his wife and kid on a vacation so he could get a break from being a dad. I loved her, but never crossed the line. Always hoped deep down she would see I was the better guy. Hoped that maybe someday she would leave him. During the summer of 2020 she tells me she's divorcing him. She's had enough. I have heard that before. She's claiming she's serious this time. I kind of brush it off. She's hanging out with me much more. She can't stand being in the house with him. This went on for 3 weeks. I started to realize she was serious, and she even had a lawyer lined up, but didn't start the proceedings yet. She felt it was bad timing with COVID. One morning she's working from home, but at my home because she needed space from her husband, and we get to talking. Where we never crossed the line, I initiated the talk about her actually divorcing, and what her post-life might be. She suggested that I would be the kind of guy she would want to date. That turned into more talking, and soon we are having frank discussions about dating each other after she's divorced. This went on for about 2 more weeks. We started to text, FaceTime, and talk on the phone more. Physically we weren't cheating, but we were going down that road. One morning she's over before work. As a nurse she was going to the hospital some days, and we are talking some more, and I lean in. She leans towards me. We kiss. We were stone cold sober. It was passionate. Really hot. Lasted only a few minutes. She had to get to work. More talking about life after him. It starts to feel like she's at the tipping point of divorcing. Problem is, her kid. She loves him. He's only 6 years old. Feels super guilty about divorcing her husband and ruining her son's life. She doesn't love her husband, but she loves me, and has told me so, and also loves her son. Also, on paper, she has an amazing life. Her and her husband probably make $500,000 a year combined income. Net worth of $3 millions. It's hard to just walk away from that. I do well enough. But I'm just a bartender, not some Wall Street banker. I have always been smart with my money. I even own my own home and saved up $700,000 in a Roth IRA over the years. While going through the emotional affair and just kissing each other, it turned into more. Do I feel bad? No. I was under the impression she was just waiting for COVID to end and then she was divorcing him. I'm sure lots of people like me have heard that. I knew her for years, and she couldn't be lying to me. No way. The guilt of what we were doing became too much. The affair lasted about 2 months, and we slept with each other only a handful of times. I told her that I didn't want this. It was around Thanksgiving 2020. Get a divorce. Give me a call. That's how I left it. She texted me a bit, and even visited me once mid-December. We only talked a bit. She even told me then the plan was to get a divorce. I told her to let me know when it happened. Then she ghosted me. I sent an email to her around Christmas. Never heard back. Tried calling her office a week later. Got voicemail. I waited. Weeks turned to months. Never heard a peep from her. We live in the same area of town, never saw her. I didn't push it. I figured with COVID still raging in 2021 that a divorce would be by summertime. I found out in April she was pregnant. I never spoke to her. I'm not sure if it was planned or if he suspected and put a bun in the oven. It's December now, and while I know it's over, I'm still hurting over it. Again, I genuinely felt she was leaving him. I know from the outside looking in this is easy to scoff over. I was her friend for years before we had an affair. We just had a deep, emotional friendship. I get the anger and hate towards people who are in affairs. But when you are the one in the affair, when you are with the person who you waited for your entire life, it's hard to just think, oh, I'll find someone else. I have dated my life and never met anyone like her. I'm not sure if I would ever again, and I just want some kind of closure. I want to just hear from her what happened. I know logically what happened. I was the side piece, and when I put my foot down, she was out. I never thought I would be the type of person to do that. But like I wrote before, it's hard when you meet someone that great in your life. If I was dating hundreds of awesome women, then whatever, but when you are in your mid-40s, the dating pool dwindles down, even for NYC bartenders. Tinder can be rough. You get bot accounts or lots of people who don't even compare to her. Well, that's my story. Do you have a similar story? Leave a comment and subscribe to the channel if you want to see more videos like this one.